Hey there folks, John here with ThruMyLens, and today I'm coming to you with another camera-related video. Today we're going to be looking at this Canon G7 X. Now this is a small, compact digital camera that was originally announced and introduced, I think in about 2015. Neat little camera. I'm not going to go over the specs. This video is intended to be a supplement to the written photo review that can be found on ThruMyLens. I'll put a link in the description box of this video, and that article will have a lot of technical specifications. It'll also have a lot of sample footage from it, and that's actually, I actually have two review videos on ThruMyLens because I did a review of this camera when it came out, when I bought it, back in 2016. I didn't buy it right when it came out. I bought it about a year later. And I'm going to guess I took, I don't know, maybe 100 photos plus or minus with it and stuck it in a drawer, and it stayed in that drawer for 10 years. I was recently reading online of how popular this camera has become in the last year to 2 years with social media types, that content creators on TikTok primarily, probably Instagram as well. But, I didn't shoot much with it, not because I didn't like it. You'll see in the original review that I did on ThruMyLens, I liked the camera and I thought the image quality was really superb, particularly for a camera of this size. This thing is just tiny as can be. This is considerably smaller than the Fujifilm X100VI. I bought it for kind of some specific uses, and I just ended up not needing it for those uses. I thought I was going to use it a lot more when I was doing IPO work with my dog Zeus, who has long since passed. Again, we're going back about 10 years. And we ended up kind of dropping out of IPO work after I put a BH on him. And I also thought I might use it for recording videos at the range back when I was doing a lot more competitive shooting. And the autofocus of this camera is not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. So I didn't end up using for that purpose. So again, the camera kind of just went in the drawer. Got an appearance in this video by my Tudor Black Bay chronograph. And again, fast forward to just a couple of months ago, I was reading about how in the last couple of years this camera has become so popular because the sensor, the little 1-inch sensor in this, that's about 20 megapixels, just resolves color phenomenally. But with the lens here, which 35 millimeter equivalent is about a 24 to 100 range, which is really an outstanding walk around range. It's just become really popular with folks who do photos on Instagram and TikTok. You can see it's got a nice little flip up screen here, a little LCD. It doesn't come out. I think in subsequent versions of this camera, the flip out screen could come out a little bit. One of the big advantages that this camera has that the TikTok, particularly the it girls who like to go out at night with their friends and take photos, it's got this little pop-up flash here that is got a really nice range. Apparently the effective range of this flash is about around 10, between 10 to 15 feet, we'll say. The effective range on an iPhone flash is like 5 feet, so it's not nearly as good. So that little pop-up flash has become really, because again, the younger generation, what's old is new again. They're really these days are liking the look of flash photography, of more vintage type photography. This camera has more of a kind of what they consider to be a vintage look because it came out, again, a little over 10 years ago. And the look of the photographs are very film-like that come out of this camera. I got it out again, and really over the last couple 3 weeks have taken it out and tried to do some photographing with it. And I've got to say the image quality on this is really, really impressive and stands up pretty well, shockingly well, with my Fujifilm X100VI. What I found is in most cases, there's just a slight edge for the Fujifilm when it comes to overall sharpness. Again, not that big of a deal because the influencers who seem to like this camera right now, they want something that's not clinically sharp, that's not perfect. They want something that's more evocative of a vintage film look. So the fact that this isn't the sharpest camera available on the market today is considered an advantage. So that's kind of a neat kind of aspect. So much so this thing is in such demand that probably a year ago at its peak, it was people were selling these for like $1,000, particularly if they were still new in the box. And there's some question mark as to whether or not Canon was still manufacturing, I think, the next version of this, the G7 X2, and then the one after that, the G7 X3, because people were ordering them from places like B&H, and I think Adorama. They were getting new in box versions of these. Now, from my understanding, I thought Canon closed down the factory that they had in China that produced this several years ago to cut costs. But I could be wrong about that, or maybe they were able to shift the production to another source. Again, it's not clear to me whether this camera, has remained in production, up until maybe the last year or two. It doesn't seem to be, they don't seem to be manufacturing it currently. The camera, again, will not, set any spec sheets, comparisons on fire. Again, we're talking about a 20 megapixel sensor, which is fine for photography. Again, I'm shooting with the R6 Mark II. I think that's a 22 or 23 megapixel, sensor. So 20 is not bad, even, compared to some cameras today. You do have a tripod screw mount here, so you can put it on a tripod. You've got fairly good controls of this thing. Looking at the control wheel, you can see there's a manual mode, there's an aperture priority, there's a shutter priority mode, there's a P mode, and then there's some more interesting, more creative modes down here, as well as the movie mode. Manually focusing this thing is pretty darn tough, particularly if you're outside. As you might imagine, a camera from about 10 years ago, the LCD is not the brightest LCD that you're going to find. You can see it well enough to basically compose, and you can see what I prefer to use. I prefer to use this in aperture priority mode. It's in aperture priority right now, and I can set the aperture with this control wheel here to whatever aperture that I want, and then I'll just let the camera control the shutter speed. What's really amazing about this camera, and I don't think I remembered this, is that it does have an internal neutral density filter. An internal ND filter, so you can turn that on. The aperture on this lens ranges from a low of 1.8 to I think 2.8. I'll double check. I'll put the actual range on the screen, but I think it's 1.8 to 2.8. That's outstanding. It's a variable aperture. Yeah, it's 1.8 to 2.8. It says right here on the front, and that means even when you're zoomed all the way out, you're at 2.8, which is, most of my, professional L series lenses, are around 2.8. So that's outstanding. It really is. But if you're out and you're shooting at the widest 70, at the 24 millimeter equivalent setting at f1.8, it's going to need that neutral density filter. And of course, you're not going to be able to put one on. I'll go ahead and hit the button, and there's what it looks like when it comes open. But there's no there's no threads to be able to screw any kind of filter on this. So that's really cool. Here's the LCD screen here. It shoots raw images. You can shoot in RAW. It really can do everything that you would want it to do. And again, I go to the my most recent review where I reviewed this for 2025, and I shoot some comparison shots with the Fujifilm X106, and you'll see it holds up really, really well, shockingly well. The color on this thing is just amazing. Just a couple of things. I wish it had more custom buttons, more custom settings. I do have one that I have the function button set up here with a custom setting. Basically, that when I do the function setting, it turns the touch shutter on and off the way I have it set up. I kind of wish I wish I could very quickly hit a button to turn on the neutral density filter. That said, it's not the menu is pretty simple, and if you've used any other Canon products, the menu system on Canon is just so they just keep evolving on the same basic design, so you don't get too disoriented. But if you pull up the menu system, you just scroll down here, and here's where you can turn on the neutral density filter. So it's not too bad at all. It really does pretty much everything that you want it to be able to do. Great little walk around lens. When you turn it off, you've got this built-in thing that kind of opens up to protect the lens. And I just really am surprised at how well this 10-year-old camera holds up. You can see it's got some really interesting little red bits, red anodized parts that give it a little splash of color. And just so tiny, this little camera. Two things it didn't have that when I did my original review that I criticized: it doesn't have a mic out for being able to record audio. That would have made this camera outstanding. It also records video in 1080, which if you're going to just use it for TikTok, you could, but I think the TikTok folks that are using this are probably continuing to use their phone for video, but they use this to take pictures, and they really do like it, for that purpose. But I really had hoped that this model had 4K video capability when I reviewed it. Now the G7 X2, it's really, really similar. They did a few updates. They added a few more settings in the menu, a little bit more customizable, but it's the same lens, same sensor. You get really the basic, the same image quality that you do. And again, in the 2, there's no mic out, there's no 4K. So in my mind, if you can get a GX7 X or a 2, you're almost getting the same camera. There really aren't that many great updates in the G7 X2. Again, check out my article where I kind of go over those in depth. The G7 X3 did add both 4K video and a mic out. So if you were needing it for video function, that might be one to look for if you can find one on the market currently. And of course, they made a ton of these in all the various versions. They're not in short supply, so don't pay an arm and a leg for these things. But it's amazing because I think I originally paid $400 or $500 for this, and you can still you still see them selling for $450, $500, $600. That's how popular they've become. It's just absolutely amazing. Don't think that the thought hasn't crossed my mind of maybe selling this little guy, but I do think I'm going to get some use out of this. Again, extremely popular with the TikTokers, and for me, the portability of the camera. I've got an upcoming vacation. I'm going to go to Europe, and I think this is going to come along with me for times when I don't want to, schlep my entire camera kit. It's just a really nice package, that's so portable. And again, that's, for the, influencer it girl, this can be thrown into her purse, and, this is really all she needs for a night on the town with the friends to take all the selfies. This screen flips up, so it makes it easy to take, selfie pictures. Really nice camera. Again, just amazing to me that this camera is enduring in 2025. And really that speaks to the fact that camera manufacturers kind of abandoned this whole product segment of photography, the point and shoot. Right now, Fujifilm and I think Ricoh are the two primary manufacturers who are making something that's a bona fide point and shoot product right now. Canon and Sony kind of, left this market, and for good reason. Canon in particular, I think, lost a lot of money. They had an umpteen million different PowerShot models. This is a PowerShot G7 X, and they just had umpteen million different, versions of the PowerShot with different features and configurations. And when cell phones really started to come into their own for photography, people just stopped buying these little point and shoot cameras, and a lot of camera manufacturers lost a lot of money. So I know there's a lot of reticence, a lot of reluctance to try to jump back into that market. So I think that's why we're slow to see more point and shoot type cameras to compete with the likes of a Leica X100 6, or even a Fujifilm X100 6 and a Leica Q3, Q4, Q2, Q3 kind of a camera. Leica is another manufacturer that has a pretty nice point and shoot type, but none of those cameras, the Fujifilm or the Leica, I think even the Ricoh, are this small and have, a lens with this kind of a range, this 24 to 100. That's such a nice walk around range. Such a great camera. Really, no complaints about this camera at all, except, I wish, of course, it had an electronic viewfinder. It does not have any kind of a viewfinder. You just use the LCD, and that can be pretty difficult to see, in bright sunlight. Not impossible, but it's a little bit challenging. And really beyond that, though, I've really enjoyed getting out and taking some pictures. Please do head over to ThruMyLens and check out my article on this. Again, link in the description box. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care. God bless. We'll see you in the next one.
I hope you've enjoyed this production from the ThruMyLens YouTube channel. If you did, please click on the like button and do share the video on social media. If you'd like to see more content like it, please do subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and do check out ThruMyLens at www.thrumylens.org.